I'm RJ Baxter with Real Estate Agent Superstars, and I have with me today a superstar real estate agent, Holly Quinn of Platinum Group Realtors. She closed 47 million in transactions, 76 transactions as a solo agent in 2022. And she works in the Colorado Springs market in El Paso County. She's one of the top 25 agents in that market. And she's joining us today to share a little bit more about what she's doing to be so successful and a little bit more about her story. So welcome to the podcast, Holly.
Thanks, RJ. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So tell us more about yourself. How did you get started in this crazy business of real estate?
Okay, so my background is marketing and interior design, and my husband is a retired military man, so we've lived literally all over the world. And it was really interesting because I started from designing renovations, which then, like 25 years ago, well, actually longer than that now, but designing renovations for clients, and then doing our own like fix and flips. And it just kind of progressed to the residential market, which discovering that, the love of clients, like that's how I got into it. And there's never been a day that I haven't loved what I do.
Awesome. So tell me about how did you flip the switch from being an investor into being an actual agent? What were your first couple of transactions like?
Can I tell you, like my very first actual flip was a house of a hoarder that had lived there. And
sounds fun.
You would open the garage door and you could smell like the cat smell from inside the house from outside in the driveway. There was literally like just a pathway through the house. It was it was really a sad situation. And we were helping some friends flip this house because it was for their mother. So it was a labor of love. We ended up flipping the entire house from top to all 3 floors. And she still owns the house, but she's in a retirement home, and that money then has gone on to help pay for her retirement home fees, which is great. But it was that getting kind of your feet, jumping in, getting your feet wet, and the actual like tearing down of the walls, with your sledgehammer and getting your paint sprayer and cutting out drywall. I was hooked. So then I started doing it for profit, not just for funsies. Yeah. And at some point, here's kind of the mentality of a lot of investors. Like, you want to try to make as much money and as much profit as you can. And so at some point I was like, hey, if I got my license, like I could cut out the middleman, right? Mm-hmm. And what I discovered by getting my license, which is incredibly hard to do in the state of Colorado, by the way, kudos to those who pass it on their first try. But what I discovered is, people would call in about these houses that we would flip, and you start developing these relationships, and then you're like, yeah, I'm licensed, like I can help you find a house. And then it just kind of snowballed. Like the first year it was 2 or 3, the second year it was 7 or 8. And, I think my top year I did like 96 transactions, which is, wow. I like to sleep. So I've decided that might be a little much.
Yeah, we got to have a little bit of a personal life or we're going to kill ourselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So did you have success right off the bat, or did you run into some growing pains and some speed bumps along the way?
Oh yeah, no, like I said, the first year I think I did 3 transactions, and so I'm pretty sure that first year I actually paid to be in real estate, maybe even the second and third year. And here's one of the things like realtors don't do: math. Like, they don't look at the numbers and go, it's really an expensive career field to be in. And so we were very fortunate that we had that we're really avid savers, and so we had some of that to fall back on. But you get your license, and for me, I joined a national firm. And you think you're going to have all this training and all this mentoring, and you don't, because really in real estate, every realtor is an independent agent. And so, it's hard to kind of navigate that and figure out what you're doing. And it's hard because you're trying to get a listing presentation and nobody will show you how, because they don't want to show you their secrets. Or if you're going to sit down with the buyer, nobody wants to tell you, like, guys, there's no secret sauce. Like, I could tell you, and I'm happy to, I could tell you exactly what I do. And there is more than enough work in this world for all of us. like go be the best and that you can, and be the professional that you can. But yeah, definitely some growing pains. And I think for new realtors, one of the things that they always think is I'm going to have instant success, and every single one of my family and friends is going to want to use me as a realtor, which is not true, guys, by the way.
Mm-mm.
A lot of family and friends want to use someone else because they don't want to mingle what they've got going on financially with your relationship, and that is okay.
Absolutely. I know in my own business, it took several years before friends and family wanted to work with me, because especially being on the lending side, to share their financials with me and to trust me and trust that I'm going to do a good job and know what I'm doing. So
yeah. And, and people, I always see on, these like Facebook forums and stuff that people are like, I'm so hurt. My best friend didn't use me, or my cousin's second brother twice removed didn't use me. But you hit it right on the head. On the real estate side, like, we don't necessarily know what people's finances are, but I think that's the assumption. You like RJ, you just say, hey, Holly and Matt are qualified for 200,000 or whatever, and we go from there. But there's just so much of that I think you have to get your ego out of the way and just realize, like, hey, listen, I understand that you may not feel comfortable utilizing my services. Let me recommend somebody who I would use if I wasn't licensed. And I will say, like, even in the state of Colorado, I've done deals in other areas where I don't know the market. Even I use a realtor. Like, I'm always going to recommend the professional. So, I have a great realtor partner up in Summit County. We had bought and sold some property up in Breckenridge. And even though I'm licensed in the whole state, even I used a realtor.
Yeah. Well, I love your abundance mindset, because I think that's so key. And that's something that I see as a common thing amongst high producers like yourself, that almost everyone I've talked to that does a lot of business has this attitude of sharing what they're doing. And I think that attitude, it comes back to you, and it's a great synergy thing.
Yeah. And truly, I think I read this book, and I think it's called The 5 Decisions by Andy Andrews. And something that really hit in that is always find the smartest person in the room, and that's who you want to talk to. So find the mentor. If you're a newer agent, find somebody who's more successful, whose business model you like. What I have found is a lot of higher producing agents are more than happy to share what they've got going on. And I love food. So, if somebody says, hey, can I buy you lunch and pick your brain? I am all about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm happy to, and usually I'll end up paying just because that's how I am. But, I'm happy to, and I mentor newer agents all the time.
So who were some of your early mentors, and what kinds of things did they teach you?
Oh gosh, some in real estate, some in flipping, some in, design. One thing that's been really key for me, I have this mentor out of San Antonio, Dayton Schrader. He's, one of the top, I think he is the #1 agent in San Antonio. And I met him through some business coaching. But, I would just call him and say, hey, Dayton, here's what I've got going on. Like, what do you recommend? And he would be like, all right, Holly, here's the formula. You just got to get down, and here you need to do this. And I would take pages and pages of notes and just pay attention to what he said. Because the people that are successful in this business have a system. And that is key, I think, to success is, it's not sexy. It's like you're doing the same thing every day. Like every Monday I call, my VIPs, those are the people that send me referrals, my referral partners and whatnot, and just touch base, and just see what's going on. Every Tuesday I call everybody that I have currently under contract. So I have 13 properties under contract right now that I'll be calling all those tomorrow. And, so it's just doing this stuff every single day, tracking where your referrals are coming from, tracking where your money is going. Like I said, it's not sexy, but you just do the business, and it's not hard. It's just, motivating yourself. Pick up the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the basics are where it's at, and it's not hard. It's just a matter of doing it. And I think that's what separates high producers from people that don't maybe do as much, as they're more consistent. They just do these things over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, I know, at the end of the month, so on December 31st, while everybody's getting ready to go out and party, I'm doing my December profit and loss statement that I do on the last day of every single month. And it tells me every penny that came into my business, It shows me every penny that I spent down to every cup of coffee, what I spent on gas, what I spent on photos and, websites and all of that stuff. And that then it tells me what I have left to spend for January, both for, what goes into my personal account with my family and what I have to allocate to my business. So.
Well, you sound super organized.
Not really.
It sounds that way, at least. Tell me more about how you stay organized. How do you keep track of all this stuff, and how do you plan your days?
So my days again are, like Mondays are a day I typically don't see clients. Cause in real estate, cause you're in lending, sometimes you have to work on the weekends. So Monday's kind of the day to like get groceries, do laundry, and do my paperwork. So this morning, I get up in the morning. I start every morning with some affirmations. I do a gratitude journal. I actually do a Bible study every morning. I'm a pretty devout Catholic. So that's important to me, and that gets my head grounded. From there, I pull up my daily email. My assistant, Shannon, who's a rock star, I have an email usually by 6 a.m. that says, here's every date and deadline that we have for today. I get that twice a day because sometimes Holly's a little slow in the morning. So I get one about 6 a.m. and then I get one about noon that says, hey, don't forget you need to do this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to check emails. Oddly, I do not check email all the time. I check it in the morning, I check it at lunchtime, and then I check it kind of at the end of the day. Now, if there's something that really needs to come in, obviously I'm going to be watching for that, but then I time block. So once I've checked emails, I normally block off about 2 hours and I mute my phone. I put it on do not disturb and I start cranking out my phone calls of who I need to call for that day. And like I said, Mondays, it's my VIPs. It's also going to be anybody that I've got 2 amendments out on 2 contracts that I'm going to be following up with the other agents and my clients. So on any given day, I'm probably making about 50 to 75 phone calls. But if you stop multitasking, nobody does it well. Do one thing at a time and block your phone. So whether it's doing your contracts or on the phone, do one or the other. Like, don't do both of them because it just doesn't work that well. And then you get so much more done. And I think that if you set the expectation up front with your clients, like, hey, if I don't answer the phone, it's because I'm on the other phone or I'm with clients, but I will call you back as soon as I can at my earliest opportunity. And they always have a backup. Like they always know they can call my assistant Shannon if it's something really easy that they need if I'm not there, but I will always make time. So again, I'll time block in the morning for calls. I'll then go back to emails. And then after I do my emails, I'll return any phone calls that I need to have. So I think it's just a matter of structuring your day. And I always do have about a 2-hour time block in every day that if I need to go out and show houses or if I have a listing appointment or something like that, that, we're going to time block for that too.
Yeah. That's so key. I've heard this from so many people. And as far as time blocking and the fact that I've heard it's actually multitasking is a myth. People can't actually focus on more than one thing at one time. So that tip about email is such a good one. And
well, you have kids, right?
Yeah.
And I have 4. I mean, mine are a little bit bigger, a bit older and grown now. But, if you ever had, like, you've been on the phone with a client and your kid comes to your office door, like I'm in my house today. So, even our daughter will come in and be like, Mom, hey, I've got blah, blah, blah. You can't listen to both. So you're either giving your attention to one or the other. So I think the sooner that you recognize that, and you can either say, hey, honey, I'll hold on just a minute. I'll be off in a second. And then I'll give you my full attention.
Yeah. Or you're giving half attention to each. So you're not really focusing on either one.
Right.
Something else that I've seen. And I've heard also, if you get distracted from what you're doing, on average, it takes 20 minutes to get refocused on the task you were working on. So
some of us probably a little more.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So then, with all this success that you've had in the business, what would be your number one tip for people listening to this podcast on what they should do right now to get their business going?
So I use a tracker. I have a daily tracker that, like, I have one that tracks my expenses, like Quicken. I have a Quicken data, whatever it is, the number stuff. And that's linked to like my credit card. I have one credit card for work. I have one for home. I never use cash. I never use a debit card, but I do pay them off, both of them, every month. at the 31st of the month when all the money comes in, everything gets paid. But I have a lead tracker, and on that tells me like what the referee's name is, who referred them, where do I know that referral from? Like, were they a past client? Are they a current client? Are they one of my VIPs? Are they a business partner? Like you would be a business partner if you sent a referral my way. Are they another realtor? What course of action? And I keep one for every month. And, every Monday when I'm getting myself organized, I'm like, all right, I'm going to, who do I need to talk to? And put it on your calendar. Like you have to have a tracking source. I'm kind of old school. So I have, like notebooks and, papers and stuff, but I think that it's a constant source of looking at. I have a tracker that tracks every single person I talk to in a day. I track who I've had lunch with, who I've had coffee with, who I've gotten in front of face-to-face. How many events am I holding? An event for me is like anybody more than 5 people. And so I think that you really have to track where your business is coming from. And when you do that for a few months, people are surprised. I see on these like social media, real estate websites, like, if I have $5,000 a month to spend on advertising, which place should I spend it? And there's like Zillow.com or whatever. I pay for 0 advertising. Take that same money and put it into your past clients, your current clients, like your database. Throw parties. I have stuff at my house all the time. And, I had one right before Christmas, and we had about 75 people, just clients, whatever, just for an open house, like come in and have a glass of wine. And I think
absolutely.
more you open yourself up to, I'm normal. Like my dog's going to bark at you when you come in the house for 2 minutes. You're going to see that I'm walking around in, bare feet because I don't wear shoes in my house.
I have my slippers on personally.
Yeah, me too. I do too. I'm wearing jeans under this because again, I'm not leaving the house today.
Yeah.
But I really do think just track and know your numbers, where they're coming from and where your business is coming from. Yeah. But I will say, and RJ, when we first talked, I answered the phone, like when you called, and you were like, oh, I was kind of expecting to leave a message. And people are surprised that when a realtor actually answers the phone. I called 5 realtors this morning that I do some coaching with. 1 answered the phone. 1 called me back. Where are the other 3?
Yeah, that's so key. I mean, just answering the phone, that simple act is a key.
Yeah. And keep something, like for me, cause I'm 55, like I keep a notebook with me at all times cause I can't remember everything. We have so much rattling around in our brain. Write it down.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you use any kind of software or anything like a database program, or you just do it all handwritten, spreadsheets, that kind of stuff?
Oh, no. I mean, I have, a client, a CRM. I use Follow Up Boss. It's, it's about $60 a month. It's not super high tech, but for every client, I collect what I call the All About You form. And it tells me like, but spouse's birthdays, kid's birthday. Do you have a dog? What kind? What's your favorite college? What's your favorite sports team? What's your favorite food? What's your favorite beverage? What's your favorite restaurant? And we have all those dates, in our database that we pull up. Like for birthdays, we deliver, my assistant Kelly, one of her jobs is to love on our birthday people. So it's super easy. It costs like $2.50. She goes to Nothing But Cake. We put it in a little gift bag with a birthday card, and that gets delivered to all our local clients on their birthday. And I will say that has been one of the biggest things for, bang for your buck. 100% of people that I give that to call me or text or whatever, and they're like, oh my God, thank you so much for thinking of me.
Yeah, anyway, that's so awesome. And going back to your $5,000 on what should I spend it on? Why not something like that? Why not love on the people that already know, like, and trust you instead of spending the money trying to meet people that don't know you from anybody?
Well, and there was a time, earlier on where I thought that I wanted to have this big team, which I really don't. But, I was spending like $12,000 a month on Zillow. And what I've discovered is that most clients, now I have a couple of really awesome clients who came from Zillow and they've become like family, but that's the exception. we live in such a kind of a transient community where you have this anonymousness. I can't think of it right now. I went to a
anonymity or something like that.
Anonymity.
I don't know
I can't
either.
think of the word like it's right. But they're moving here, and instead of calling the agent who helped them like buy their house, they're calling strangers on Zillow because they're easily accessible. But what I found is they do not have the same loyalty usually as somebody that you have developed who came from a personal referral, who, you're going to treat them like family. They're going to come to your client events. They're going to call you when they need advice on anything related. And that's where, you've really honed it in. So I'd rather take, it's a fraction of that, right? Put that money in your family's budget, put that towards your retirement. Like, we don't get free retirement. We don't get free health insurance. Like, put it towards your family, put it towards your savings for, a rainy day. Like, this market kind of stinky right now. Hopefully people have reserves, but use it on, we do like random drop-off gifts. This last year, one day, they have calendars that are like national, like Margarita Day or national whatever. National Slinky Day. We dropped off 150 Slinky.
No way. I haven't heard of that.
We did. We wrote a note.
I love that.
Like, this market is stinky, so play with a Slinky. And people are like, that is the greatest. Like, it's just stupid,
Yeah.
It also falls on National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day, by the way. So, there's all kinds of stuff that you can just love on them. Like, we're planning something, I think, for St. Patrick's Day for families, because, my last name is Quinn. We're obviously Irish. So, do some fun stuff, but we'll do like tacos and tequila nights, and, and I do a lot of, there's a recurring theme in my household because I am Irish Catholic. Like, I like the booze, right? So I do a lot of happy hours at, local pubs, and you support your local businesses.
Yeah, I love that.
You spend $250 or $500, that goes so much further than 12 grand on Zillow.
Absolutely. And then the other thing that I like to do too is to, in a cool way, remind my clients that I work off referrals. And that's something that stood out with you when I met you, that I remember you talking about how you asked for referrals so much. And I mean, this is like the folks that you worked with, this is kind of like having your own sales force out there if you remind them of what you do and that you work off referrals.
Yeah, so funny. Yeah. So like my VIPs know, because I joke about it, that life is, nobody gets out alive. So you better not take life too seriously. And I'm a cancer survivor, so I look at every day really as a gift. So there's not a whole lot of, I'm very serious about what I do, but I'm not very serious personally. Like, life is, life is to be enjoyed. But I'll call my VIPs and I'm like, hey, I'm going to ask you. And they're like, yeah, we know. And I'm like, can I count on you for a referral this quarter? Can I count on you for, so my really good ones, I'm like, hey, I want a referral every quarter. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, but I'm going to give it back. So I'm going to refer to you guys too, and how we can help. But today, so I have a son who's a pilot in the Air Force, and he's been in the Air Force for almost 11 years. He's never given me a referral. Right. And I'm like, kid, you went to the Air Force Academy. Like, you have to know people coming here. And he's never given me one. And he texted me this morning. He goes, hey mom, I got a friend coming from, this area. And I gave him your number. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been working on you for 10 years or however. I was like, you're my number one VIP, Stephen.
Yeah. So now he's on the VIP list, right?
That's what I said. And he was like, I wasn't before. I'm like, you didn't give me referrals before. But you also have to give give value. You can't just be like, hey, RJ, like, hey, it's Holly. My business is kind of slow. Can you send me a referral today?
Right.
Like, the conversations that I have, especially with my business partners, might be like, hey, RJ, how can I promote you? How can I promote your business? And how can I help you? And what would you like for me to tell the clients when I'm sending them to your way to get pre-qualified for a mortgage? Same thing with my financial planner. I sit down with him and we don't talk finances, right? I sit down with him and his team every 2 or 3 months. And I'm like, what's your ideal client look like? What can I be doing? How can I be promoting you? What can we do to help each other out? And then I think it's a lot easier if it is a two-way street. And for your client, like what value are you bringing? Like for me, I keep a referral list of plumbers and architects and lawyers and, HVAC guys and contractors and painters and carpet and flooring and, anything. And so they know that they can call me at any time and they're like, hey, do you have the name of? Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so important to have that two-way street with it. So you're not needy with the referrals. So, because if you're always just asking and you're not giving, it's a lot different conversation with people.
Well, and then they're like, oh God, Holly or RJ, they're going to ask.
Oh, they're asking again. Yeah.
So, but the way I look at that is you do want to stay top of mind. If you think about, I read this, actually, I think it was Larry Kendall who does ninja training. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's out of Fort Collins.
Yep.
Really awesome. If anybody has an opportunity to go do that in person, I really recommend that you do it with Larry. But your mind will focus on what is top of mind. So if you're thinking about, like if you're wanting to get a new car and say you want a yellow Mustang for whatever reason, not very practical in Colorado, but whatever. And you think, I really want this yellow electric Mustang. Every time you see an electric Mustang, your brain is going to be like, oh, there's an electric Mustang. Now, I couldn't tell you what kind of cars I pass every day on the road, but you're going to focus on that. So if you're always talking about like, hey, just remember, please keep me in mind if you have any friends that are going to be buying or selling, or you have somebody come to this area, I'd really appreciate that. And you have to love on them back. There is something like, so, maybe we do, special referral partner events. And that usually includes, I haven't done mine for 2022. We usually do it in the spring. I usually pay somebody's mortgage for a month because that's how much I appreciate them. I'm like, all right, we're going to put anybody who's referred me, name's going in a hat. I'm going to pay your referral. Last year it was a luxury home and it really hurt.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. And they did a 15-year loan. So it really hurt.
Yeah. So something coming to my mind, just to be, devil's advocate, and people might be thinking this as they're listening, is there any kind of problems with, paying for referral or anything?
Oh, I don't pay anybody.
But as far as
I'll gift my time. I'll take people out to dinner. I'll send them to dinner.
But you mentioned paying the mortgage payment.
That's just like a once a year. Everybody who's done it goes in the pot, right?
So it's not like specifically to one person. So
no. It's totally random. Totally random.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's illegal. That would be a RESPA violation.
I was going to say, that's why I wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, definitely don't want to do that. So, you specialize in military, the military population down there in the Springs. Is that right?
Well, I've got two different kind of niches. I do luxury, and then I do military. Colorado Springs is 25% military. So odds are pretty good that somebody down here is going to do that. My husband went to West Point. He's a retired Army colonel. Both of our sons went to the Air Force Academy. They're both active duty. So the military to me is, I have such a special place in my heart. Our first home buying experience was such a horrible, horrible, horrible experience that my goal is to, like, I sit down with everybody, whether it's via Zoom or in person, and we do a consultation for like first time home buyers. And what I found is, here's what the life cycle of buying a house looks like. It's not rocket science, right? Like you're going to talk to a realtor, you're going to get pre-qualified. We're going to start looking for homes. Here's what earnest money is. Here's what, then we're going to do an inspection. Then the house is going to get appraised. Then we're going to do, we're going to negotiate back and forth, and then you close. And obviously I say it a little slower than that and allow questions. But I think that when you do things like that, it takes away a lot of anxiety, a lot of issues, and they go into this process and like, oh yeah, you know what, you were right. This is really pretty fun. But I do that especially for military, and the things that I talk to them about are investing, buying wisely in a military location, because military can have a short notice PCS, which is a permanent change of station. We've had that. Like we were living in Germany, and all of our stuff was on a boat going to Nebraska, and all of us, where we had a house lined up and everything. And all of a sudden they're like, oh no, you're going to Colorado. So, sometimes you can get, oh my gosh, I just talked to somebody this morning. It was 30 days to be at the next location. So it's important to discuss why you want to be like in a good school district, and what are things that most people are looking for in a house here, so that if you have to sell quickly, you could, or it's one that would make a really great rental property.
So do you think focusing on a niche like that has been beneficial to your business?
I mean, I think it just kind of evolved, but absolutely. Our military members are super, super loyal. So, probably 95% of my buyers, when they go to sell, I'm going to list their home. The other 5%, whatever. But, and it's great because like I've had, probably 10 conversations in the last month of, hey, we're going to get orders this summer. We need to talk to you about, in this market, is it going to be better for us to sell our house, or should we rent it out? And we work the numbers. And, there are a lot of times, like, I think that having rental properties as a military member, well, anybody, but is a great investment piece. And so there are a lot of times where I'm like, you know what, this is a great house. I think you'd make bank keeping it as a rental. And, unless you need the cash that you want to buy, the next place. But backtracking to that, I offer to do a budget with every single client. And so one of the things that we talk about when we're having that initial consultation, when they're buying their first house, is how to save to where they can keep the first house and still buy a second house. And you can tell people too, like VA loans, a lot of people don't realize that you can actually use it concurrently, more than one time, up to, whatever the max is. So I think just that education piece of helping, helping buyers become really savvy investors. And, I have this young special forces captain that's a client of mine that's on his third house, because he's and he will call me, like he's actually deployed right now. And he called me last week, and we talked budget, because they know that they can be like, okay, here's what I've got this bonus coming up. What should I do with it?
Yeah.
And we talk about that. Where should investments go? And I'm like, well, here's what I'm doing. I do recommend, call my financial planner.
Right.
I'm always going to consult with a professional.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome that you go that deep with people. And I think that's so key. I'm sure it helps deepen their trust in you and that connection that you have. So that's great. Well, I think we could talk all day, Holly. You have so much stuff to share, and you're so interesting to talk to, and I really appreciate you being on. I have one more question for you to end for today. And that is, let's say you had zero business right now and you were just starting out in the business. What would you do over the next 30 days to make sure that you had someone under contract within 30 days? See
this? I'm going to pick up that phone, and I am going to call everybody in my my circle of influence, my sphere of influence. I'm going to call, and this is where those using your lead trackers kind of go back. But if I don't have, if I am just starting out and I have zero business, I'm going to be calling every single one of my friends. I'm going to be calling all my business relationships. Like, if you have I have a plumber that I have a cell phone, Tom, and anytime I have a question, but I refer him all the time. And I'd be like, Tom, do you know anybody? Like I think it's okay to be vulnerable. Like, I'm kind of hurting. I need some business. Do you have anybody that is coming my way? Anybody that you've talked to, like when you're going to a house and they're getting their furnace cleaned, are they telling you they're getting ready to move? Can you give them my information? And I will tell you, the seeds you're setting today are what's going to happen in your business in the next 30, 60, 90 days. So if you're slacking off like I am today, our daughter and granddaughter were here, so they just left, but I still got my calls in this morning. But, pick up the phone, call your financial planner, if you have attorneys, call your inspection people, call anybody, call your mentor. If you don't have one, find one. If you're in Colorado Springs, give me a call. I'm always happy to kind of sit down and give you some basic tips. Yeah. And the thing is too about that is I've heard of a lot of people getting
hung up on making that phone call, especially to people they know, like friends and family. And it doesn't have to be weird. It can just be a reminder that you do real estate, and, started off with checking in to see how your New Year's was or whatever it is. And, just
there's the formula is Ford.
Yep. And what does Ford stand for?
Family, occupation. I just said recreation and dream. I was like, what is that? So like, if I'm calling you, I might be like, hey, RJ, it's Holly from, the Platinum Group. What's going on today, buddy? And you're going to be like, hey, I'm, working from home. Kids are still on break or whatever. How was Christmas? How was New Year's? How's work going? Like, you're in lending. Are you seeing any, any downturn? How can I help you with that? What can I do for you? You guys have any, spring? I know you just got back from, did you guys go skiing for a day or something? Weren't you trying to get up to go skiing?
I'm sorry. My dogs just went crazy. Just speaking about dogs.
I can't hear them. So,
okay, good.
But like, maybe like, do you have any trips coming up? Like, I'm looking forward to going to see my son that's the pilot and his wife, sometime in February or March. Haven't planned that yet. And what have you got? Like, what are your goals for this year? What are you hoping to achieve? And it's as simple as that. And then it transitions into, well, listen, anybody that I talk to, of course, I'm going to refer you because you're awesome and you do such great work. And I'd really appreciate, RJ, if you, and I laugh usually, if you talk to anybody that one of your neighbors, one of your friends, anybody come this, if you'd give them my name as well.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And then when you're doing the Ford, something that I do religiously is put it in your database so you remember, because a lot of people, the number of people that I talk to, and I'm sure you talk to, and as you get more established in real estate, if you're newer listening to this, you just, you want to remember everybody and you think you will, but you just don't, especially people you don't know that aren't friends or family already. So I always put those notes as to what their hobbies are, how many kids they have, dreams, all those kinds of things into my database so that I can look at it on the next phone call.
Well, and the nice thing, like with Follow Up Boss, with the CRM, like I'm pretty frugal with what I spend as far as stuff like that, because you could spend thousands a month, but you can put those notes in there. The other thing, like my All About You form that I use that has like birth dates and stuff, that's really also a great segue. Like I have 2 clients who have birthdays today, so they're getting calls. Hey, well, actually, I call the day prior because I'm always like, hey, I know it's your birthday, tomorrow, but all your friends and family are going to call. And I just wanted to tell you, I hope you have a happy birthday, and make sure that you look on your porch tomorrow. So
yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Those were easy ways to call for birthdays, anniversaries, like,
totally.
Whatever. Your kid you saw on Facebook that somebody's kid just got accepted to college. Like you can call them, hey, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of your son for getting into CU Boulder. Like, my kids went to CSU, my daughters did. So I can't help you there, but if they if you want any college advice, like one thing I always say is start looking at college loans now, because they're completely, there are so many different types. So there's always something that somebody needs to know.
Yeah. Yeah. So awesome. Well, thank you for all the wisdom, Holly. It's been so awesome to have you, and just really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Gosh, RJ, my pleasure. And can I count on you to send me a referral this quarter?
Can I count on you? No.
Absolutely.
Of course. Well, awesome. So for those of you that are listening, if you found some value in this podcast, please share it with a friend. That's how the word gets out about the podcast. And please consider leaving a 5-star review for us on the podcast. Also, I wanted to remind you, my name's RJ Baxter with Intercap Lending. I'm known for following up at a high level, for closing on time, and for following up with leads like green on a pickle. And I have a proactive system in which I give back to the agents that I work with. So if you want to learn more about that, just give me a call. And once again, thank you, Holly, for being on today. And you all have a great rest of your day.